Fire Emblem is also coming to the 3DS in the form
Yes,
of,
which isn't going anywhere.
which is never going anywhere
Thank you.
ever.
Thank
It's
you,
staying
Ricky. I appreciate that.
in the form of Fire Emblem Echoes of Valentia. Also introduced were two new amiibo. We're going to get to that in a few moments. Again, we don't know jack about Fire Emblem for the most part. What I do know from the trailer is it looks a little bit more anime than other entries in the game did, especially with the two new characters that they introduced, Alm and what's the last one? Alm and
Celica.
Celica. Not like silica gel.
No.
Like silica gel that you find in your shoebox.
Or Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley. Silicon.
Anyway, it's
Celica.
Celica.
It
Which
looks-
is a beautiful name. It doesn't sound like any other word in the English or the human language.
The human language.
Human language.
I know it's a remake. There's a game called Fire Emblem. Is it Gaiden?
Yes, Fire Emblem Gaiden.
So I know that many members of our team have a huge crush on Fire Emblem Gaiden. They kind of hang it over the heads of everybody in like on Nintendo Wire saying, I played this game. I am superior. I'm the superior Nintendo fan.
It's so true.
I'm not kidding. We have these conversations in our group chat.
So it's basically like you every day.
Mostly. Except I don't know anything about this series.
Yes.
But I understand it's a great game, and I understand the folks in the West have never had a chance to play it. And I guess, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Ricky, what do you think?
I think it's a good thing at this point. With Fire Emblem not having come over until the 2000s, people kind of didn't have to deal with the older games, which are rougher around the edges. And we even saw a different remake of the initial game in the series starring Marth, that was Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, came over on the DS. And it sold well, but it didn't bring out fans in droves like Awakening did when that came out. So definitely that was the point where we got people, which is why a lot of what I've seen for Echoes is much more in line with, first off, it's using assets from Fates and from Awakening, so it's going to look very similar to that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially with it being a remake, and we're getting it just a year after Fates. So the fact that it's come out so quickly, I think, is a great thing, as I can always use more Fire Emblem in my life. That said, Gaiden is definitely a game in the series that doesn't have the same kind of rabid following as other ones do. It's notable less for any of that, and just if you've actually played it, it stands out. Think of it as the Zelda 2 of the Fire Emblem family, where it changed a lot of stuff. It changed a lot of stuff from the original game and took it in a new direction. And then afterwards, they kind of changed that stuff around, and it wasn't until much later on that we started seeing other things come in that were introduced back in Gaiden, including stuff that is very prevalent in Awakening and certain parts of Fates.
Yeah.
For example, the ability to grind in a way, that kind of started with Gaiden, with more of an open world sort of feel to it. You could go around a world map, stop in on areas, and even go into dungeons, which is something that hasn't really shown up in any Fire Emblem game. It also gave way more options for promoting and classing your units, so you could have a lot more variety in your army's layout. You'd be able to specialize it and say, I really like this unit type. I can make this character into that unit type. And it also tells kind of a dual storyline, which is something that we also see now in Fates. So it's the right time for Gaiden to come to the West, I think, as, of course, Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia.
So these two new characters we're getting Amiibo from, and I'm saying new because I honestly don't know, were these characters in Gaiden, or are these two brand new characters for the 3DS version?
These two characters were definitely in Gaiden. They were the driving force of the plot of that game. They are the lords for that game, and when you say that a character is a lord in Fire Emblem, that's basically the way to say they're kind of a big deal. So in fact,
the name alone gave that away.
So you should call me Lord Amiibo Jason from this point on.
Sounds like my name a little bit.
Lord,
I guess that would be your class. But with Gaiden and with those two characters, that's actually the groundwork of the support system that would come into the series later. There was actually a feature where if you had them near to each other, they would have an increased chance of getting crits, and they would perform better in battle. Now, it didn't have the conversations or the same kind of features that people would expect from the support system in current Fire Emblem games, though I'm sure we'll see those in Echoes.
Yeah.
But it was definitely the first instance of characters outside of the plot reacting with each other on the battlefield, which is now such a huge part of the games. So seeing that come back is, again, the right time. And those two characters in particular, while they're not, I would say, the most loved characters in the series by and large, they got DLC, they were DLC for Awakening, and they're going to be pushing them in full force if we're getting Amiibo of them. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the updated story and the updated presentation does for them.
For you personally, how was it seeing these two characters that you were already familiar with being brought back to something so modern?
Oh, it was fantastic, though. As soon as the trailer started, I kind of knew that this is where they were going, because you see a little boy with green hair, a little girl with reddish hair, and they're sitting and talking about two gods in an argument. I'm like, no, they're doing Gaiden? What? So
are they brother and sister?
Yeah, they're brother and sister. I thought they were. That's what they said.
Adopted brother and sister.
So can you do your eugenics thing with them?
Now, there wasn't any sort of eugenics thing. There wasn't any sort of eugenics thing in that game.
So this is going to be my cup of tea. This is going to be my jam.
You just wanted it to get as weird as possible.
Any face petting in this game?
Yo, if you want it to be weird, you got to get this one. But as far as the face petting, no words on if that is coming back. But with how it kind of got tweaked for the localization, I don't know if we'll expect that in full force. But hey, you never know.
You never know. Region locking is dead, folks. Remember, if you can't get face petting here, you can always get it overseas.
That's a really good way to advertise it.
Amiibo Jason. All right, let's talk about something that Amiibo Jason knows about.
Why are you talking to the third person?
Because we're about to talk about mother flipping Amiibo, son.
Oh, he's gonna take over now.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this trailer and I'm like, all right. Oh, no. I'm sure Ricky is over there like having a good time with this. Yeah. And then they show the Amiibos. I do want to point out on the last newscast, I said, and TJ, our good friend TJ, who's in chat right now, he was with us.
Are you gonna pat yourself on the back?
No, here? I'm a little disappointed in myself to be perfectly honest.
Good.
But at the same time, it was pretty darn close. Very nice, by the way. Ricky. I predicted that we were going to see a Fire Emblem 2-pack, but I did say that it would be a Corrin and a male Corrin and a female Corrin 2-pack.
Yes, and I thought you'd be spot on with that.
I thought for sure.
Up on that one. Yeah.
However, I was right to a certain degree. We did see a Fire Emblem 2-pack in the form of these Fire Emblem Echoes amiibo. Very, very cool amiibo. I haven't said very, very cool yet in this podcast, so I'm excited that I get to say it right now.
I'm sure you'll say it at least one more time.
At least one more time. They are so well done, and I do want to point out, since this isn't the Amiibo newscast, I have to shoehorn this in here right now.
Of course.
Amiibo are pretty much $15.99 now in the US. $12.99 Amiibo sound like they are dead. All of the new Zelda Amiibo are $15.99.
Yeah.
Except for the Guardian Amiibo, which is $20.
Which is understandable with its posability and the size of it.
Yeah. Even though these Amiibo are small, the detail on these Amiibo are insane. If you compare these two Amiibo, compare them against, like, let's say Marth.
Yes.
Or like the first gen Fire Emblem Amiibos that we had. These blow them out of the water. And yes, I understand these are concepts, but at the same time too, I wholeheartedly believe Nintendo is going to take your extra $3 and make these Amiibo a lot more worth your money. I know you can't see it right now on the screen, but they are actually standing on like a stony, rocky structure, and the base reflects that, which is super, super nice. The eyes and the face on the Amiibo are so nice. Even if you're not a Fire Emblem fan, if you are an Amiibo fan, these are worth a spot on your shelf. I can say that right now.
I feel like you're gonna be right about this one, because we've seen the natural progression of Amiibo and the quality behind the production of Amiibo over the last 2 years get increasingly better and better and better. And with the last 2 or 3 waves, you and I have constantly just complimented the quality behind the Amiibo. So I can definitely see this next wave, if you want to call it that, to be even better.
And I'm not sure what we're going to see next. I am expecting Corrin any week now. I'm expecting Cloud even sooner. I think Cloud is going to be announced, and I don't want to say this and get everybody riled up, but the 30th anniversary of Final Fantasy is in like a week. Like the big celebration is in Japan, and it's on the 31st.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we're going to see something about Cloud then. I'm guessing. Crossing my fingers.
Just a guess.
I'm more hoping
Yeah.
than guessing. But I'm guessing we're going to see Corrin too. So I'm not sure how many more Fire Emblem Amiibo we're going to see on top of these two.
Mm-hmm.
But with Fire Emblem Warriors coming out, the room for expansion is great.
Yeah.
And Nintendo is not shy from double dipping on their characters. How many Links do we have? How many Marios do we have? We could see another Marth. We could see another Robin. We could see another Ike. The door is open.
Yes.
And I think we're going to see it. We have 2 brand new bases on these Amiibo too.
Yeah.
So that
looks
again
good.
opens the door for
Yeah.
so many more
You're like,
possibilities.
oh, you're so excited.
I am. It's one of the things that I feel like in the Nintendo community,
Yeah.
I know Amiibo.
Yeah.
I was up at like 3 a.m. during the height of the Amiibo thing, like memorizing things
Yeah.
and getting in-stock alerts out. I feel like I could probably name every Amiibo.
Oh, you
if
could.
if
You
there was a
could.
gun to my head, I probably could survive it.
It's good to know.
So I'm excited to see these Amiibo coming. I'm going to be more excited when Corrin comes.
Yeah.
I'm going to be more excited when Cloud and Bayonetta come too.
I think you're just more excited about Corrin coming because it's something that you've been anticipating for so long. I think
It is, yeah.
I
I
really
mean, it's
do
been-
because not knowing Fire Emblem the way like Ricky does.
Yeah.
I think it's just that you had your heart set on it so much right alongside Bayonetta and Cloud that you just really want to see it out there finally.
it's been over a year since they announced that they were in production.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we saw the first look at the Bayonetta amiibo. It was like that super close-up shot that we
Yeah.
got, and
Oh,
that was
yeah.
just enough to get fans like super excited. And there is 2 CPSIA certificates out there right now from what kind of looks like the same kind of serial number, the item number that the Super Smash Brothers amiibos use.
Yeah.
So there is rumors at the moment that at least 2 Super Smash Brothers amiibo that we haven't seen yet are already somewhere in a warehouse, probably somewhere in China, getting ready to ship. I don't know when, but it's going to happen at some point.
So excited.
So, and when that day does
Oh,
come,
gosh.
the
Here we go.
Amiibo newscast will come back.
We will make another return.
We've
Randomly.
done that twice
Yes,
so
we
far.
have. Since the Nintendo newscast started.
We will do it again.
Oh, yes.
The
Guaranteed.
Amiibo newscast will return, folks. I promise you.
Yes.
I think that's it. I think that's my spiel.
Oh.
I get to shut up now about the Amiibo.
And you didn't have to cough.
I know. I'm proud of
I'm
myself.
so proud.
Ricky,
Yes.
what is your thoughts on these 2 brand new Fire Emblem Amiibo? Number 1 and number 2. This is a question for both of you.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious to see what your hopes are for these Amiibo in game and maybe in the future.
You know what? Honestly, I think Ricky's going to be able to tackle this one better than me because he's familiar with Amiibo, but he's also a lot more familiar with what he would like to see as a fan in
Yeah.
a Fire Emblem game. So you take it away, Ricky.
Will do. So one thing I would love to see first and foremost is an update to Fates. I want to see not just Alm and Celica be usable with that game. I want to see Roy become usable with it, and I'd like to see some kind of functionality for the eventual Corrin amiibo back in that game. It would just make it feel more complete in that respect. But moving on to Echoes, we really have no indication of what we can expect from amiibo functionality outside of what was done in Fates. So if they just lifted that wholesale, I wouldn't be too surprised or upset, but I want to see them do something more. But what that is, I'm not really sure yet. Maybe some kind of exclusive weapons, maybe their old designs in some respect. Not that those designs are anywhere near as detailed or as lovely as these newer ones, but some kind of incentive to really, really make these amiibo worth having, not just if you're an amiibo fan, but a Fire Emblem fan who might not be as into amiibo. Like, I want to see this bridge that gap. As for what we can expect for them, maybe in Fire Emblem Warriors, is the that kind of weapon functionality. Fire Emblem as a series has a long history of like more pronounced and exclusive weapons for the Lord characters. And to see that be reflected perhaps through the amiibo, whether it be an early unlock or just an exclusive feature, kind of like how the spinner was with Link back in Hyrule Warriors, would be, I think, a fitting use of those. But it also, like you said, right, it also opens the door for more characters to get that kind of spotlight. I mean, this could finally be Crom's chance to become an amiibo, and I think that that would be fantastic. Or some of the other kind of marquee lords getting that representation, whether it be through Warriors, or if this Echoes games does well enough, we could even see more remakes in the future. You never know. So,
And it surprises me so much that Fire Emblem went from like the brink of death to where it is now,
Yeah.
to having like on every single
Yes.
system.
It was Awakening though. Awakening is what brought it
Awakening.
back.
Yeah, Awakening
Yeah.
was, I believe there was like a leaked memo that said if Awakening doesn't do well, that Fire Emblem is dead in the West.
I just
Yes, it was going to be the very, very last game, which is why it has so many callbacks to other elements of the series. They put in so much into that game, and it's why it stands out even amongst its more contemporary releases like Fates. So something about Awakening just absolutely nailed it at the right time. Like, it couldn't stay in stock. I was working at a game shop back at that time, and we got calls daily. Do you have Fire Emblem? Do you have Fire Emblem? I need Fire Emblem. That was the best time that we ever sold eShop cards because everybody wanted Fire Emblem and they were willing to download it if they couldn't get a physical copy.
Wow, that's something I don't hear a lot of fans turning to because they definitely want those hard copies instead.
Yes.
Yeah, I just remember living on the 3DS forums back on Reddit back when Fire Emblem Awakening was released, and everything was about Awakening. I couldn't get over it, and I wasn't familiar with the series at all at the time. So to find out that it was something that was kind of just rebooted in this new game is really cool.
I picked it up, I played it, not very long.
Yeah.
It's, again, that kind of strategy game is just, it's not my cup of tea.
Too much mind power?
Oh, I knew you were going to make a snide comment like that, Happily Candid. However, I'm going to do my darndest to get into this, because we're going to be doing a stream for the mobile game when the mobile game comes out.
Yeah.
So we're going to do our best to, together, learn as a couple.
We'll do it.
Through the power of eugenics.
You just want to do face petting.
Yeah.
That's
a little
all
face
you're excited about.
But there you go. That's everything we know, at least at the moment. Happily Candid, any final thoughts as what you would like to see with these amiibo?
What I'd like to see? No, I just want to see Nintendo do something different with functionality. Add something more to it. Because in the past with, I think, the other Fire Emblem characters, I think it was somewhat of a letdown with the functionality that was offered with them, from what I remember. Is that correct? Either of you guys?
Yeah, well, it was somewhat... They were a bit more limited in their functionality when it came to Fates, and they also weren't as prominent with other games, just with how niche that Fire Emblem was kind of more at that time. But as it's been growing, I think we can expect a better turnout and more when it comes to the functionality to expect, just because now there is that following. There's going to be a mobile game now. There is a collectible card game now. There's so much more Fire Emblem out in the wild that they can't really afford to be half-hearted with the functionality with the Amiibo.
Yeah. So I want to see them offer multiple ways to use the Amiibo in the game. And I want to see that not just with these, but for future Amiibo too. Because right now I think that they were kind of testing the waters with a lot of Amiibo up until now. And we've seen some interesting usability out of it, but at the same time, I don't think that we've seen everything that Amiibo have to offer. So all I want is multiple use, and I'd like to see it used from device to device if possible.
As long as it's not going to be something where it's like Hyrule Warriors kind of did it crappy to a certain extent. I mean, yes, you got to unlock certain weapons like the extremely overpowered spinner. I blasted through that game with the spinner. But it's not like, I don't want to get like in-game currency or something.
Yeah.
By far the worst, and I'm just going to say this right now, the worst use of an amiibo of all time ever was Shulk in the 3D remake of Xenoblade Chronicles. It was bad. It's like you got in-game currency that like did next to flipping nothing. It was so terrible. I did a video of what it did. It's like a 10-second video. I'm like, boop. So bad.
Were you when you were filming that? Were you unaware at the time?
I had no idea what it did.
Oh, you had no idea.
There was no other videos online.
Oh, well, that's it.
I'm like, I know it does something. It's like, you got 100 coins.
Oh,
woohoo!
That is disappointing.